Welcome everybody to the first in my series on connection. This is a collaboration with several other YouTubers who are all virtual strangers to one another. And we're taking about half of Arthur Aaron's questions from his social psychology experiment on interpersonal closeness. You might recall it was written up about 5 years ago as the 36 questions that anybody can use to fall in love in the New York Times. While we're not looking to fall in love, we're looking to see what this will do for interpersonal closeness during this time of social isolation. So today we're going to answer the first 3 questions on each of our channels. My other collaborators are Maria Filar, Love Me A Latte, and Ali the Unicorn. So do go over and check out their answers. All right, let's begin. The first question is, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? Why? And if you had to be quarantined with them for a month or more, would your answer change? All right, so let's take that in parts, shall we? The first part is, whom would I like to have as a dinner guest? And it doesn't specify whether the person is living or dead, so I'm going to just say that right off the top of my head, my first response would be my mother, who passed away when I was just coming of age. But I'm guessing that they mean somebody who is living. So in that case, the person that I would want to invite as a dinner guest would be Brené Brown. And the reason I would like to spend an evening with Brené Brown is because I believe that she and I are interested in similar topics. She starts from the outside, looking at other people's stories and going inward to how that can be applied to everyone. Whereas I start with the inward of my own personal story and look to how that can be applied universally to everyone else. Now, if I had to invite a stranger into my home for a month or more, one of us would probably leave in a body bag because I'm a person who really needs her space. You have to be very special to me to be invited into my home because it's my sanctuary. You know, the only person I can think of that I could spend a month in quarantine with is Brother David Steindl-Rast. Now, the first thing is, because he is part of a contemplative religious order, I would expect he would be doing meditation and prayer a good part of the day, and we'd get a bit of break from one another. I would gladly spend a month with Brother David. And the reason is because he is the granddaddy of the gratitude movement. He started a social movement and an organization around grateful living. And secondly, because, and I don't know how I didn't put 2 and 2 together until last week, but last week I realized he was the same Brother David that founded the seminary where I was ordained. I never met the man because he had moved on from the seminary by the time I actually enrolled, but I am certain that his stamp of gratitude was still left all over that cemetery and all over me as a result of it. So I would love to spend a month with Brother David, digging into what grateful living has meant to him and how he started this entire movement around gratitude, and what part that possibly I could play in that movement. I can't think of anybody I'd rather spend a month with. And what about you? If you could choose anyone in the world to be your dinner guest, whom would you invite? And why? Would that answer change if you had to spend a month or more in quarantine with them? I'm looking forward to your comments below. So the second question is, would you like to be famous? In what way? This is an interesting question and a little more complicated than it looks. So my answer would be no. I do not want to be famous. In my early career, I worked with famous people and I saw what it did to them, and I wouldn't want that. I want my work to have a wide impact and to reach many people. And I understand that in order for that to happen, sometimes one has to put oneself out there as the conveyor of the message. And so I'm willing to do that in service of the work. But would I seek fame for fame's sake? Absolutely not. And do I want to be famous? I would have to say that sits uncomfortably with me, because my privacy is very important to me. And you might say, well, you're on YouTube, what privacy do you really have? But anybody on YouTube is only showing you a part of their life. They're only showing you this tiny little bit that they want you to see. So, yeah, no, I would not want to be famous. Would you like to be famous? In what way? Third question. Before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say? And why? Okay, that's a little easier to answer. No. Well, yes. No. Well, yes, in certain circumstances. If it's a business phone call, I always prepare an agenda, and I agree the agenda at the top of the call because people's time is very valuable, as is mine. I will make personal phone calls to catch up with people and check in on them, but a real, heart-to-heart phone call is with very few people. And in those cases, it's completely an improv, and I have a very short circuit between my brain and my mouth. And that's okay, because we have the trust between us. And what about you? When you have to make a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you have to say? And why? Thanks for listening to this first set of questions. Don't forget to check out my collaborators' channels for their answers. Next week, we'll be doing a set of questions all together. For what are you most grateful today? Yes? Well,